So continuing with the skeletal system, I've already mentioned that the skeletal system consists of two parts, axial skeleton and appendicular skeleton. Axial skeleton basically forms the main framework. It includes the skull, the vertebra, the ribs and the backbones. Whereas the appendicular, it includes the skeleton of the limbs, that means your hands and legs. So today we will be discussing about appendicular skeleton. The hands are also known as the four limbs. It basically starts with a long single bone called humerus in the upper arm. Then it continues into two bones called the radius and ulna. The radius is the bone which is closer to the thumb. Then there are 14 carpals, that is your wrist bone, and then the bones of the palm, these are 5, known as metacarpals, and then the bones of the fingers are known as phalanges, which are 14 in number, 2 in the thumb and 3 in each finger. So basically this is your forelimb, that is the structure of the hand. The next appendage is the hind limb. Hind limb means the leg. It starts with a long bone, which is the longest bone of the body. That is the thigh bone called the femur. The femur continues into two bones, tibia and fibula. Tibia is inner to the body, fibula is outside. Then there are 7 tarsals making up the knee. Then it continues into 5 metatarsals, and then finally the fingers of the the bones of the toes called phalanges, which are again 14 in number, 2 in the toe and 3 in each rest of the toes. So these are the appendicular skeleton. Now when we talk about the appendicular skeleton, it has to be attached to the axial skeleton. So the attachment is done by girdles. The girdles are called pectoral girdle or the shoulder girdle and the pelvic girdle or the hip girdle. The pectoral girdle connects the hand with the axial part. The pelvic girdle connects the legs with the axial part. So, since these are the main parts of a skeleton, how your skeleton moves is because of the presence of joints. Joints basically means connection of bones. So when we talk about joints, they are of 3 types. Immovable. That means these joints are fixed. These joints are found in the skull. The next joint is partially movable. Partially movable means it permits only a slight movement. It does not allow free, complete movements. So this partially movable joints are found in the vertebrae or your vertebral column. And then there are joints which allow free, complete movement, known as freely movable joints. These joints are again of different types. The most common one is ball and socket joint. The ball and socket joint, what it means is one joint has a head like a ball which fixes into a socket. So this bone is now capable of movement in any direction, and it is found in the shoulders. Next is hinge joint. Hinge joints are similar to the joints of a door, which allows movement in only one particular direction. Examples are your knee and elbow joints. Next one is pivot joint. By pivot joint, what it means is there's a single bone and the other bone is pivoted on top of the joint. The example is the placing of the head on the topmost vertebra. The next one is gliding joints. By gliding joints, what it means is it allows the joints to slide against each other, and these are found in the wrist. Now, despite having the presence of joints, there has to be some mechanism which allows these joints to move, and this is basically provided with muscles. When muscles contract or relax, movement is possible. So when we talk about muscles, again there are three types: striated, unstriated, and cardiac muscles. By striated muscles, what it means is a muscle has alternating patterns of light and dark bands, whereas in the unstriated there are no such patterns. Again, in the cardiac, the muscles are striated. Your cardiac muscles and striated muscles are not under our control, whereas your unstriated muscles, they are under our control. So let's talk about the hand. If you look at the hand, on the either side of the humerus, you have your bicep and your tricep. When the bicep contracts, it pulls the arms towards itself. When the tricep contracts, it pushes the arm away from itself. So since the contraction of these muscles provide movement in opposite directions, these two sets of muscles, that is your bicep and tricep, are known as antagonistic muscles. Antagonistic muscles means a pair of muscles which provide movement in opposite directions. When the bicep is pulling the arm towards itself, the tricep tends to release it. That means when the bicep contracts, the tricep is relaxing, and when the tricep contracts, the bicep is relaxing. So depending on the muscles, we have different types of lever mechanisms in the joints. You all know that in the first type of lever, the fulcrum is in the middle, the weight is at one end and power is at the other end, so that it allows easy movement of the joints. This type of mechanism is found in the arms. Your elbow becomes the fulcrum, your weight becomes the lower arm, and your power is provided with the tricep muscles. So this is the first type of lever. In the second type of lever, what happens is fulcrum is at the one end, weight is in the middle, and power is at the one end. Such an example is provided in the legs. Like for example, if you want to raise your legs, what you do is your toes acts as the fulcrum. This portion becomes the weight, that means the joints from the ankle towards the entire leg, and the calf muscles provide the power. So because of the contraction of the power, you are able to lift the entire body weight above. So the muscles of the calf represent the second type of lever. The third type of lever is such in which the fulcrum is at the one end, power is in the middle, and the weight is at the one end. Again, such an example is an example of the arm. Elbow becomes the fulcrum. Your bicep provides the power and your forearm becomes the weight. So your bicep is an example of third type of lever. So this is the lever mechanisms of the muscles. So when we are talking about joints, it basically means connection of bones. The bones are held together by ligaments and tendons connect muscles to bones. It is because of the contraction and relaxation of the muscle that we are able to move the bones, that means joints. Now, joints are protected by a special fluid called synovial fluid, and whenever a joint has such a fluid, it is known as synovial joints. Synovial fluid, what it does is, for example, let's take into account this ball and socket joint. Synovial fluid is present in between the joints. It acts as a cushion, providing protection against the friction produced during movement of the bones. So we do not get pain when these are, that means the bones are being moved. So synovial fluid provides protection to the bones. But during old age, what happens is the synovial fluid starts to decrease and we start to get pains. And again, your joint pains are also due to producing of crystals, that is a calcium oxalate crystals, which is nothing but the condition of gout. So when we talk about skeletal system, we always have to keep in mind three things: bones, cartilages, and finally muscles. It's because of the muscles that the skeletal system can be moved. So this is it. We'll be continuing again with a new chapter in the next class.